too soon. You have come too soon.
Greetings, weary travelers. Have you recently left World of Warcraft for reasons? Are you looking to try Final Fantasy XIV, but the terms are weird and you aren't sure what is what? Well, I'm here to help clear up some stuff in a few sections that I think will be most easily digestible and most needed for you folks. Let's start with classes in Final Fantasy XIV terms, better known as jobs. If I am going over jobs and you are confused because none of those jobs are on the character select option when you're creating your character, here is a handy dandy converter chart. All the classes you see currently become these jobs at 30 and so on. Now let's get going. First, let's start with the tanks. Have you ever said, man, I would love to tank as an arms warrior? Well, good news for you. That's basically the warrior in this game. You smack things, you build up rage, you spend rage, and you heal by just smacking things because you don't really care about them. Paladin is basically the sword and board prop paladin. You got your shield throw, your bubble, and a lot of extra nifty holy abilities that actually make you the best group tank in the game, as you will support all of your party members just by being yourself. Dark Knight is, you guessed it, just Blood Death Knight, but instead of blood, you use your feelings to fight. You wield a huge dumb sword, and you have a ton of the exact same ability concepts that Blood Death Knight does. It unlocks once you have another job at level 50, starting at 30, so you gotta grind it back up a little bit. Gunbreaker is for people who really like being a tank when Twilight Devastation was a corruption proc in BFA and doing the big boy numbers. Gunbreakers wield a gunblade, which is a Glock on a sword. Wow! The job at first can be overwhelming with the sheer amount of abilities it gives you, but it can be a lot of fun. This job unlocks once you have another job at level 60, but also starts at 60 so you don't have to grind back up. Healers. Now the healers in Final Fantasy XIV all play slightly like a Disc Priest in the way that you should constantly be dealing damage. It's not that it makes your healing better, it's just that at endgame especially, a lot of the bosses are tuned around you dealing damage to them. So, let's get going. White Mage is your bread and butter healer, and plays to me like a combo of Resto Druid and Holy Priest. White Mages wield a rod, get your heal over time abilities, and your big boy instant heals with the big cooldown of Angel Wings. Also on top of that, your AoE DPS rotation stuns enemies in dungeons, which is really nice. Scholar is a pet-based healer. It comes with a little fairy friend that does a ton of your healing for you, so you can sit back and deal damage. A little bit like the Mistweaver Crane you summon, but just way more effective and constantly there. At endgame, you can't just rely on your pixie, but if you do need to heal, it relies on a lot of shields like Disc Priest did back in Wrath of the Lich King, so if you really liked throwing out shields and spamming damage, this job is for you. Astrologian wields an orb, and is basically the card healer. It's a little bit like Resto Shaman in terms of how they had totems that help the party, as Astrologian has cards that help the party, and can switch between either being a regen healer or a shield healer, or even having both at the same time. Visually, it is 100% the prettiest, and unlocks once you reach the first expansion Heavenward, and starts at level 30. Another job is coming in the new expansion for healers called Sage, which looks like it uses cool flying tech guns to damage enemies and help you heal allies. From what I have read personally so far, is that they will be playing on raising defenses of allies before damage happens, which sounds a lot like, to me, pain suppression from Disc Priests in modern day WoW. So maybe it will be a preventative healer used for people who know the fights better. Magical DPS. Let's start with Black Mage, because it's the most iconic. If you took Arcane Mage's mana management and gave it to the theme of a Frost Mage, and then combined the theme of a Fire Mage with a Destra Warlock, you would have a Black Mage. They are visually beautiful, if not a little turret-like. They have some cooldowns to help them with movement, but they struggle with it for those who don't know the fights yet. Next up is Summoner, who likes to read books. Summoner is a combination of current demo lock and affliction lock, where you balance damage over time effects with large, crazy summons nuking your enemies. It has a very static rotation with very little deviation, but is very rewarding to pull off. Finally is Red Mage. I know there's something called Blue Mage, but you can ignore that because he doesn't count. Red Mage is actually most like if we took an Enhanced Shaman and an Ellie Shaman and made them make a baby. Red Mages wield a rapier with a magical stone. You cycle through ranged caster phase where every second cast is instant till you build up to a melee phase where you jump in and slash up your enemies. This is probably the most beginner friendly of the mages, which is funny and ironic because this job unlocks only once you have another job at level 50 and starts at level 50. Range DPS. Now we have Bard. Bard is most like a marksman hunter simply because it also has a bow. The difference is that while yes, you are doing a lot of the same stuff like shooting arrows, your bow also plays songs that buff your party and makes them stronger. It has a light amount of RNG equivalent to getting kill shot procs, and on top of everything, you get to be able to play instruments in public and play real songs, so big RP bonus to this job specifically. Machinist, to me, is if you took the Tinker class we always wanted and combined it with the Beast Master Hunter. You have your pet mech, you've got a gun, you've got tons of wacky gadgets and like flamethrowers and poisons, all the goodest stuff. It's the one I've got the least experience on personally, if I'm honest, but everyone I know that plays it calls it stupid fun. To unlock it, you must unlock Heaven's Word, and then it will start at level 30. And finally, Dancer. This is my main job and my favorite because of all the jobs, it is most like a World of Warcraft class due to having heavy amounts of RNG and a builder-spender style mechanic. Dancer uses chakrams it throws, which is, to me, what I feel like we would have gotten if we ever got an axe thrower added to World of Warcraft. And on top of that is a huge buff machine to your party. Some people have called it the Wind Fury Totem class of Final Fantasy XIV, and honestly, I couldn't make a better analogy myself. Now melee DPS. Monk is basically Windwalker Monk from WoW with a few extra steps, and I mean that literally, because you have to walk around the boss hitting him from different sides to get the most damage out of your abilities. Monks use their fists with brass knuckle style things, and it can be very cool for people who like feeling min-maxy. It makes me think of momentum playstyle of Demon Hunters back when they first released, with how much you have to be moving in order to maintain optimal DPS. Dragoon is, in the words of S-Fan, praise be to him, basically an old school Ret Paladin, but with hops. Dragoon uses a spear and your rotation is very simple, but you do get to jump high in the sky a lot and crash on your enemies, which is always super entertaining to watch. This is also the memed spec of the game being the floor tank, because they tend to do backflips or jump onto their own deaths more so than any others, so once again, it is much like the Ret Paladin in classic WoW, as it is also the meme spec of this game. Ninja is just a sub-rogue and a combat rogue combined. Ninjas use dual daggers, and the main part of the job is that you have 3 jutsu abilities that you press in different orders to create different abilities. It sounds complicated at first when you hear it, but honestly, once you try them, it's very simple. Generally, if you enjoyed Rogue and WoW, with any of its specs, you will most likely enjoy Ninja. Finally, Samurai that use a katana. Samurai is for those who want to still play an arms warrior, but don't want to tank. You use different combos to build stickers that, depending on how many you have, can unleash different abilities. It does have a cast time for these abilities, however, which is thematically the idea of you pulling your sword out of your sheath like a badass, but can feel a bit like old school slam from warriors depending on who you are. Also, before we finish up the melee, we do have a new job coming up in Endwalker called Reaper that uses a scythe. It looks like it summons a monster to fight with it and has huge spicy abilities. Generally, I have no idea what this could be like from WoW since we don't know much about it. I'm actually hoping very much that it just plays like the Fury Warrior, where it's a big, dumb, just weapon-wielding, slicing forever style job. And for now, that is all the jobs we have. Personally, I do hope one day we get something akin to the bear tank thematically, or maybe a necromancer personally. Tell me what you want, though. And also, for people who still aren't sure what to come play after this video, talk in the comments. Say what class and spec you mained or was your favorite in WoW, and maybe people can help you out find something similar. This is just a video for everyone who's coming over to have a place to help each other figure out what's what. Next video, I'm going to be having a chat with you guys about basically the PvE raids and all the different varieties there are and difficulties of those encounters, just so you can be aware of what awaits you more so at endgame in comparative to World of Warcraft. So until next time, fare thee well.